This is my design model for Envision Practice number 1. This is for an executive leadership seminar, and the objective of the leadership seminar is to train executives on how to encourage innovation and creativity in the workplace. So the learning experience starts at the learner's own pace, and they can begin whenever they decide, but it will be tasked before they attend the seminar to read an assigned chapter or chapters, depending on the number of participants at the seminar, and they will read their assigned chapter of Sparks of Genius before attending the seminar. And Sparks of Genius is a book that I read in my master's in educational technology, and it was one that I thought was very beneficial in really dissecting what makes a creative person creative, and design and innovative processes that some of the best creatives of our world go through. And so the method of that would basically do the Sparks of Genius book, and they read at the learner's pace. And then the action is then directed into the classroom by the learner, because they're the ones that make the effort to attend the seminar. And they would start with an icebreaker activity where they would do a creativity exercise. And what this exercise would entail is they would be given a Flickr link, and they could do this on their mobile device or their laptop, anything along those lines. So they would need to bring some sort of mobile technology device. But they would get a Flickr link, and this Flickr link would randomly generate 10 images from the whole Flickr site. And they had, no matter what happened, whenever they clicked on the link, they had to choose the third picture. And when they chose that third picture, they had to download it and then put it into Google Draw. And from Google Draw, they had to, or PicMonkey, something along those lines, any open source photo manipulation. And from that, they had to create an album cover that describes their workplace, or their job or profession, or the team that they're in charge of, or the product that they sell, etc. So they had to take a random photo and apply it to what they do. And the next activity would be learner-led and facilitator-led, because the learners would complete the activity, thus ending the activity, and the facilitator would kind of read when everyone was done and then lead them on to and explain the next activity, which is a group discussion. And the group discussion starts with sharing the album covers as like an introduction, and it could also be a good icebreaker because it might get a little silly since the pictures were randomized. And they share the album covers and have a whole group discussion around creating creative teams to inspire an environment of innovation. And that's supposed to say "and," not "and" there. So that would be, the method would be group discussion. The next activity, same thing as learner and facilitator led, because the learners would complete the activity and be the main participants of the group discussion, but the facilitator, being a facilitator, would read the room and decide when is the best time to move on, and also watch the clock and decide when is the best time to move along. So they are both doing the action onto the next step. The next activity is another practice activity, and they would get with groups that were assigned the same chapter, and they would do a chapter summary practice. And what they would do is discuss their chapter. We would even have, or they could either bring the book, or we would have copies of the book there. And they, as a team, they would need to create a summary tweet, or 144 characters of what their chapter, what the main idea of their chapter was. And once they've done that, they would then move on into an online synchronous environment within a classroom environment. In other words, they would be on their mobile devices, which they're technically in an online environment, and they would tweet out the chapter summary. And in this time, people can read other people's tweets, so on and so forth. So then the next step, which is also learner-led, is that the teams will then share or read each other's tweets, and then the facilitator would summarize and discuss briefly all of the different summaries that are present. And this is a whole group discussion, so basically the whole group really narrows down and figures out what's the best wording or the best way to abstract these summaries. Then the next, it's learner-led to another practice activity, and this is when the learners divide into teams by similar fields, and they have to create a new product with a 30-second elevator pitch and a graphic visual. And this could be a product for their own companies or just a random project, so they would kind of be under a time constraint, which, since it's only 50 minutes long, it can just be a quick, fun activity. But I always think something like this can really, especially if they're all in similar fields, just this really quick kind of under pressure brainstorming activity could really inspire some ideas for their own companies. And it's always nice to go to these seminars and walk away with something concrete that they can bring back to their teams. And really the overarching theme of this seminar is to train executives on innovation, on getting their teams to have innovation, to be innovative and creative, but it's also really helpful for them to go through that same process and be able to empathize with their team members and understand what the creative process is like. So that's why that practice is there. And they also have to create a new product with a 30-second elevator pitch and a graphic or a visual. So draw a picture of what their product would look like. And this would be a group work. Then the learner would then move into a gallery walk situation, and this would be a feedback loop, or this would be a feedback method, just because as they're walking around and as the different teams, so basically how it would be is half of the teams would stay in front of their graphic or visual and stay with at tables, then the other half would walk around, and then halfway through you would switch. But as the teams are walking around, just like any sort of fair or conference or where there's booths, you walk by and where they'll give their elevator pitch, the audience participants will also give them feedback and say, oh yeah, that's a good product design, or you know what, you could maybe do this, or I'm in a different field, but I can see a way that I can take my skills and give you good advice. So this would be feedback on their products and on the result of their design experience. So that would be a gallery walk, and then the learner then moves into a wrap up and a group debriefing of what they learned for that day, and that would be implemented in a whole group discussion. And basically it would just be open discussion on what everyone can walk away with, what they enjoyed from the day, what are some things that they can take home to their team members, and some ideas that can be done. So basically kind of the way that it's set up is that they, at their own pace, they consume the content and the information on their own via the book. And also this part of the activity with the whole group discussion and sharing the tweets and having each chapter summarized, that's when you get the bulk of the information and content that is going to be beneficial for them. But all these practice activities are really going to put what they learned into practice and into application. All right, thank you very much.